which day it is.
Well, the debate certainly isn't going to be whether or not Ken Ham knows what he's talking about.
Or does he? Does he actually know what he's talking about, and he's deliberately misleading people?
Oh, I guess you could actually debate about that. You could make that.
But I will have to say, I will say beware the Ides of March. We'll have to do the Shakespearean thing.
Beware the Ides of March. Macbeth is coming for your booty.
Did I wear my fake teeth or not?
It's Julius Caesar. That's when the Julius Caesar says yes, but the Ides of March are here and I'm still alive, and Sybil says yes, but not gone. And then then Julius Caesar goes to Stabbyville.
Stabbyville? He's at the corner of Stabbed and Stabbed More.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Is that how we describe that? That makes sense to me. I don't know.
I don't know. Stabbyville is this place in Australia, as I understand.
What the hell? This person's like, hold on, Australia's not real? That's news to me.
Well, allegedly. You have to ask people who are knowledgeable of such things.
I mean, I assume they're lying. How do you know? How could you possibly know? How could anyone tell if Australia is actually real?
I don't know.
When I fly down there, they do a good job of fooling you.
Ooh, it's actually just a theme park. It's like Harry Potter Land.
It's funny, Shesh. It's funny that whenever I travel back to India, I never transit through Australia. It's always Singapore. I wonder why.
Yeah. So maybe.
Oh, hey, welcome back to Debate Hub. What's going on? Hi, we're here. How are you guys? Welcome back, Maanyaa and Landon. Yay!
Hello, yes. Chat. How you doing?
Hello, we're here. We made it. I'm excited. It's been a little while since we did one of these.
Yeah. I'm itching to meet Madam Pele again. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Madam Pele erupted as soon as Maanyaa left.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, damn it! That's what she was planning on. She was planning on me leaving, and then she was like, here we go.
Yeah. We had to do the chess was mostly right show.
Yeah.
Yes, she was.
Mostly right.
Although somebody pointed out the fact that we had to do it implies something about chess.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah. Yeah. It do be that way. It do be like that.
Looks like Shesh is in harmony with Madam Pele, so she kind of like gets her.
It's just because of my drinking habits.
Yeah.
So, thank you everybody for joining us. I see Bruce the Divide here. I see Athens. I see Fred. I see Zan. I see Squaxamonophone. I see Smitty. I see Icarus. We got a hell of a crew here today. Welcome everybody. Yes. We are here to track Madam Pele, but I do know that Landon has a couple of announcements and some stuff he wants to tell us about that he's kind of excited for. So make sure you like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. There's like a little reminder. Don't forget. As well as I've been live on Twitch as well. I am only 8 subscribers away from being able to actually make money on Twitch again. So hey, if you want to go help me out, you can go find me doing that. I drew a bunch of Bulbasaurs.
Oh yes, I saw them on Twitter. And actually, I saw them on Twitch.
Pokemon thing.
Yeah, everybody likes Pokemon for some reason. I don't know why.
And Bulbasaur is far the cutest. Like, fight me. He's cute. He's cuter than Charmander. Fight me.
Oh, that's a debate.
I think the cast form critter that I have is very cute too. I think cast form is pretty good. I'm a fan of all these things. So let's flip on over and take a look at what Landon's got going for us. So just as a plug there, you should check out the missionvillagevoice.com on page 28 of the current issue. There's talk about I had a really nice conversation with a wine sommelier, a gentleman that I met going to a hoity-toity restaurant. Ooh. Actually, a really good restaurant called Chez Touché in Mountain View. Check it out if you have.
Isn't that home to home? Translated Chez Touché, home to home.
Shay TJ is
sorry
is the the TJ chef, and they have really high end service and exotic cuisine. It's one of those gastronomical things. Anyway, I met this gentleman. I was rendering. We had a conversation. Talking about the issues of taking wine to the South Pole, and so there's an article there you can check out, and you can see a picture of me. In my adventure thing where they made me take off my goggles and my face mask and expose my skin to,
I love this. This is my favorite picture of Landon. And I never use it for thumbnails. Why? I don't know.
but it is a case. We were heading towards Mount Erebus with a volcano, which is why it's right on there.
Come on, look at him. It's a fuzzy Landon. I love it.
Yeah, it's the natural insulation. The other thing I want to mention, and I know that Shesh was mentioned at the end of the show as well. Discord channel, Our Favorite Universe. There's a really nice Discord channel there, and there's a link you can join. Description in the, I guess, somewhere in the chat thing or something like that.
Pinned to the top of the chat right now, there is a link to that Discord. So yeah, just open the chat. If you're watching this in the future, it may or may not work for you. Good luck.
And when you join, I'll acknowledge you and then elevate you to the science fan. And in this particular in this particular thing, we have lots. For example, the science news. There's lots and lots of science stuff. Some are volcanic, some are space, but there's like a huge history of really interesting science stuff. Oftentimes, you see, there's even a thing about volcanoes as well. But oftentimes, you'll see links to actual articles there. So there's a cooking and eating thing for making yummy stuff. Medical news, actually. That's real cool. Medical news, not hype stuff on there. And so you can learn about monk fruit and resveratrol and that sort of thing. For those that like history, there's some really interesting historical things about Thomas Jefferson's role in bourbon history, or the deciphered thing of Mary Queen of Scots. There's disaster news because well, what would be the world without disasters? And finally, for those that like news feeds, there's a news feed of news articles. I think in particular, the stuff that is probably a DFF in quality, such as, did you know Kinder eggs now have another reason why they should be banned from the U.S. because of naughty stuff?
Yeah.
The American war on Kinder eggs is probably one of my favorite weird American factoids.
Yes. One must do that. So we'll plug this at the end, but yes, join there because there's fun stuff. But that's not the topic of there. The topic is volcanoes.
Yes.
And currently, as we mentioned before, volcanoes are a common thing. It's like saying it's raining. Someplace on Earth, there's a volcano running right now. 47 volcanoes that are currently erupting right now. So again, don't believe that it's the end of the world when someone says a volcano erupting. It's probably some bored news reporter trying to do.
To be honest, it would probably be the end of the world if a volcano wasn't. Like, if there were no volcanoes going off at all.
Then you would start a worry.
Yeah.
That'd be terrifying. Suddenly the Earth just stopped doing.
I mean, the lowest I've seen the number is 41, and the highest is 55. So it's kind of varies around there. If you look where they're going, where is it? So we're concerned with the red dots, active things, or orange dots. And so if we look at where we're going, in Europe in the ocean, let's go down here. We have of course that Italy has the two. Stromboli and Antarctica almost always continuously erupting. They're about as active as Madam Pele. Iceland, Ethiopia and Congo have two volcanoes that are also almost always going. But also in the Indian Ocean, there's Barren Island near India, as well as Congo and Tanzania has stuff. Because of course, right now. Indonesia has 7 volcanoes that are that are in the process of doing
7
lava,
just in one
and another
place.
two that, well, India's a big place.
Yep.
It is a big place.
Yeah, people don't realize that it's a
I mean,
big
yeah, but I
place,
live in Canada, and Canada's pretty big, and we're probably like the most boring. Like, specifically where I live, there's like the most we get is we have like some areas, which is not even where I live, because I'm in like a weird little pocket where nothing interesting happens. We get thunderstorms once in a while, and once in a while we get like some of a blizzard, but it's not like record-breaking blizzard. It's not like, it's nothing that impressive. So it's just like some tornadoes sometimes nearby, but like there's no earthquakes here. I'm far enough inland that there's not gonna be any like typhoons. There's no like, I'm not worried about the tsunamis never gonna reach me. I just get like, I'm kind of close to the Great Lakes a little bit, so
and here I am, 11
I live in this perfect little spot.
Yeah,
I'm at a goblin hole.
And I'm here allegedly in New Zealand, where earthquakes happen every second week. And I think so I felt one last night. Or it was me.
New Zealand is a very
not
wiggly
having
place.
enough sleep. Yeah, it was either one of
those.
those.
But anyway, so Indonesia has a pile of stuff here. We go over to look at stuff. There are 2 volcanoes that are in the minor eruption things going on in Alaska.
Yes.
Mexico is kind of like number 2. They have 4 active erupting volcanoes, and one that's oh, actually they have. I'm sorry. Mexico always has 1 in central Mexico that just continues erupting, and Guatemala has 2. Nicaragua has 1, and Costa Rica has 1. South America, Colombia, Ecuador has 2, or excuse me, 3, and stuff. So there's South America, Antarctica. Of course, Erebus is almost always erupting. So Antarctica gets its one little thing. Let's talk here. Pacific Ocean, of course. Madam Pele is still erupting, and Tanna Island in Vanuatu. Is going there. Philippines, and for example, in Russia, there's usually one or 2 in Russia going on. Japan, of course, is also very wiggly and volcano-wise. Yeah. So there's volcanoes around.
I like Smitty. The earthquakes in New Zealand are from the Earth doing a double take when Maanyaa walks by.
Oh, I love him.
One of my favorite jokes was, "Goodbye, world. Oh, okay, I'll see you later, Jim. Where are you heading off to?" Pff, oh my God, that's not what I expected at all.
So, Kilo is still erupting.
Can you zoom that in a little bit for us, Landon? Do you mind?
Let us go and
there you go. That's much better. Thank you.
So Kilo is still erupting, and main thing to look for now is the sulfur dioxide emissions, because that's one of the primary gases coming out, and it's only now down at 250 tons per day as of the February 28th. It had when your previous show, Kilo is running around 3,000 tons per day.
Yep.
And it dropped to around 2,000 tons last week, and now it's down to 250, which is getting close to. It's not zero. It's getting close to there where it's not as vigorous, right? So the question is this because there is, the eruptions winding down, or do we have something where we have just a bunch of stale magma at the top that's kind of suppressing the fresh stuff coming up, and we're waiting for a resurgence? Now, let's look at the tilt meters. And the tilt meters, we see some healthy deflation inflation events. There's a D, there's an I, right? So look on the week, it has some ups and downs of things. And there was actually a if you look at the month thing, this is big drop where it was around 3,000, and then it had an event where you had a big surge and it kind of quieted. But even though it quieted down, it's doing its DI events.
It's working its way back
on a
up.
Pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
So generally when it's doing deflation inflation events, that's a sign that there's energy coming to the system, but we're not seeing it in the sulfur dioxide levels coming out the top. So is that because magma hasn't worked its way up to the top, or is Madam Pele fooling us again, because she likes to do that sometimes. She has kind of that little Loki quality to
little tricksy.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the summit things, before last time we were seeing it had peaked. This is the length across the caldera, up the top caldera, and we saw that it was kind of decreasing, and then it started picking up again. On the grander scheme of things, this is sort of history. This is the end of the great 35-year eruption where the summit collapsed, and it smoldered around and had an eruptive event back in December 2020. It went quiet. It started again in 2021, and it's been going up since. It had a little bit of pause. This peak was when Mauna Loa got into the act, and there's a debate. Did the eruption of Kilauea stop, or was it a pause? And that's kind of semantical stuff, but it is if you look at there, seems like it's back to its sort of normal.
So there's nothing more that we enjoy here than a semantic argument.
Yes. I will say that in my opinion, volcanoes are not born atheists.
Do they make new atheists whenever they're born? I don't know, man.
Oh, the children. Pele's children. You know what Pele's children are?
Mm-hmm.
Rocks.
Yeah.
So Pele's children. Consult other people on the internet for whether rocks are atheists.
Oh my goodness. I was like, where is this connection going? And then they were like, oh,
you didn't see that coming?
No, I did not.
But let's move on back to Madam Pele. So here's the nice map of the summit, right? You see here in 300 meters. So we have this eruptive event. We have this other. So we have kind of a couple of spots where it's relatively it's erupting with lava oozing around. Remember, this whole sort of pink area is the entirety of the Holy Ma'u pit, with relatively soft, fresh lava. There's a couple of islands around there. It's the active part is only about 11 hectares or 26 acres of the whole 119 hectares of the lava pit, or 249 acres. But I want to call you to
I like
this
chart.
graph.
Very cool. Yeah.
All right.
Can you zoom the graph in a little bit? Can we zoom the graph?
Let's go in and zoom.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
All right. So here we see the extent of the Holy Ma'u pit, right? This line, this gray line here, right? We see the orange where it was before the collapse. There was a little bit of a little dimple, and after that, the end of the 35-year eruption, it collapsed. When we talk about the fact that right now what we're seeing in that pit is really a magma chamber that's exposed, right? This shows you the extent of it. There was, when it collapsed and stopped, there was a little bit of a lake that started forming, and up to 50 meters deep, and it was a very sort of near boiling lake. And that quickly, when the eruption in 2020 started in December, that lake boiled away very quickly, and we saw how far it went down. Now, you look at the elevation, right? The elevation, the pit went down because the top was around 1150 meters. It went down to almost 500 meters in depth.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That's from the very top, right? Just before where that little lip is, right?
Yeah. So that would be this area here, right?
I was about to say something really stupid, and then I thought about it for like a blink of a second, and my brain stopped me. I almost asked how far that was under sea level. The top of a giant ass mountain.
I mean, it really went down more than halfway from the top of the mountain to the sea level, right?
It would have been better to say how far away did it get from sea level for how deep, not how far under is it. It's not under anything.
But if you consider where it was, right, it's way over here. Here's the end of the mountain, end of the island. It was actually fairly far inland and a pretty big pit. And again, we're talking about this orange line here is this sort of base area around here. This was used to be fairly fairly straight across. This was a small little hole where Halemaumau was. So Halemaumau has now turned into this sort of almost this martini glass shaped pit with this other side thing here. Now it will eventually fill up because that's what volcanoes do. But if you see what happens is this was the eruption that started in December 26th, 2020, and it filled up far. But volume wise, this volume and this volume are pretty much about the same, right? The new eruption pushed it up to here, and if you think about this line was when Mauna Loa decided it wanted to get in the act, or as Hawaiians say, that Madam Pele moved up to the top of the long mountain and danced there for a while. And then both of them paused on the same day, and then Kilauea kicked off again when Shesh was mostly right. And so this is the little, now
that one time.
It doesn't look much, but this is like
hold on to it. It's fine.
Almost 11 meters of stuff. But again, as this level goes up, it's going to take more and more volume to rise, right?
And more pressure also, isn't it?
Yes. Very, very, very good point, because this is rock. It's heavy. It wants to sink, and stuff comes up. And moreover, remember, on the volcano, this volcano has spines, rift zones, and somewhere in this region here, there are tubes that head off down this way and tubes that head off this way. Obviously, it is not at the depth where the lake is now, because otherwise it might start draining. Yeah. But it's also possible that what the tube was here has collapsed in, right? That maybe the tube is over here. Again, if you look at stuff, this is the distance-wise, right? Again, look at these in terms of meters, right? Here's 2.5 kilometers wide, the full extent of the collapse. And so there's about a kilometer plus, kilometer and a quarter of section that might have had tubes that has collapsed in. And if it's going to get it into this thing, it's got to get in there. So it may have to melt its way through. It may have to come up, fill up here, and melt its way through. Or it could go the direction, right? Might go to the southwest rift zone and go this direction. But at some point, it's going to do what it typically does: start heading down there. That being said, we would expect to see earthquakes starting to occur. We also might see, if it was truly a drain event down a rift zone, you might see a beginning of a collapse at the top, just a minor collapse, not a big thing, but a minor collapse. So we're not up to the point where this flat here is sort of this drop down block. We're not to the point where it's going to start filling in, but if it does, it's going to take a lot more volume just to get out there. And at some point, that pressure, as Maanyaa said, and the melting might cause the magma to enter into one of these rift zones and change the nature of the eruption.
That makes sense. Does the nature of the eruption, do you mean like that it's not just like a bubbling up and out? Do you mean like it changes, like what part of it is changing in nature?
Well, when magma moves down these pipes, it tends to have places where it outgasses, and so you'll get venting along the pipes, and meaning that the magma that finds a way and leaks out through some fissure is less gaseous and flows easier. That being said, that kind of channel thing, the lava that comes out of a channel has cooled down a bit because it basically gets moved through rock pipes. So the summit temperatures tend to be hotter. They tend to be a little bit more fluid. Doesn't to say it can't be that the magma can't, because the other thing the magma might do is say, why am I going up again in this big giant block, this cap? Why don't I go off to the side?
Right.
right? And so the magma might choose instead to bypass this whole thing, go off the side. In 1959,
path of least resistance.
Kilauea Iki over here was a site of a great fountain that occurred. The volcano had been quiet for a while, and a tiny little hole opened up here, and it basically acted like a straw, and you had tremendous fountains. Kilauea Iki crater was about as deep as the Halemaumau crater drop down was, and it filled in. And in fact, to this day, even though it's 1959, if you dig down into the plate here, you'll come up against lava. Right? This pit has been slowly cooling. You have to dig down like 50 meters or so, but this was a sort of a mini example of what's happening over here. And so this is an example where it wasn't able to come out into the caldera and went off onto the side. So it is possible that it could erupt somewhere on the zone by just deciding to bypass it altogether, not melting, but as Maanyaa said, the pressure might cause it to go in an entirely different direction. We would expect to see earthquakes as it begins to move, and we also, even if we don't see earthquake, we would expect to see their tilt meter starting to get wonky when it starts bulging in this place or that place, unless of course she fools us again.
I'm still voting on the just kind of seeping out as some random side vent that we weren't noticing.
Yep, and
out
so
the side. You guys ever see
so
Spirited Away? The movie Spirited Away, when Chihiro is dealing with the stink spirit, and then she pulls the one piece out, and it pops out this, and it's like this big mound, and it just pops out the side, and then just sprays everywhere off the one side. That thing.
Yeah, that's certainly possible, and I would expect that type of an eruption if what happens is that this current eruption stops altogether, and we have some period of time over maybe a couple of years where that lava pit solidifies, at least on the top, right? It'll be still liquid, squishy down below, but solidifies on the top, creating a cap, causing it to out the side. So what they do, in addition to looking for earthquakes, is they also do radar to check if there's a place that's bulging, even just a fraction of a centimeter. They also do thermal imaging. So we look at this spot here, and I'll zoom in. Here we see basically hot spots, right? And that's that. There's a couple of fountains where things are warm. Now, if you look more carefully, you'll see this mottled stuff. There is other warm things here. This is still pretty warm. You would not want to walk across here with shoes you cared about. And
what are you talking about? It looks like a blue swimming pool or a blue lake.
No,
well, I think it's
this channel is not responsible.
After your boots go, then your feet might get involved, and that you might have a bad time.
Yeah. Don't swim in lava.
That's relative.
We do not recommend.
Bad.
Yes. This channel does not condone lava swimming.
Or walking. Yes.
Yes.
Jesus, are you listening?
So this is the so what do we look for? We look for earthquakes. We look for gas coming out. So what you might happen is that let's take a hypothetical here. Let's say what happens is that the magma is going to come down this area here. What we might see before long is we might see that gas cracks here. Gas is coming out cracks along this line, even well before the magma gets to the point of breaking stuff open. If it was heading off to the side like this, or heading to the side, we might see on these cracks little wisps of stuff. So they monitor gas, they monitor quakes, particularly shallow quakes, and then they monitor bulging of the ground, and then they monitor heat, in hopes to try to get an idea about what Pele does before it happens.
Yeah, we basically want to, this is like the very early stages of having like a solid understanding of volcanology. This is like science at what science does best, gathering as much data and like data points and information as possible, so that way we can actually utilize and analyze that data in the future once we have enough data to make accurate predictions.
Yeah, and so people
doing science
observe things. Yes, exactly, because people observe things. They ask questions about what they observe. They then rate a hypothesis, and they attempt to then gather data and do experiments to potentially refute that hypothesis or falsify it. And if it falsifies, they go and modify it. If it seems to stand, then they continue to test it going forward. But as I say, this is all part of learning about things. And so Kilauea we're fortunate that Kilauea is probably the most monitored volcano in the world. It certainly has the longest continual scientific observations going back to, I believe, 1912 is when it has had continuous scientific stuff. Not, people have observed Etna erupting for a long time, but I'm talking about gathering data and sample and collecting and so forth, rather than just volcano tourism.
Right. Well, that would be the thing, right? Once you know enough about the volcano, you know how to operate around it in a way that is safe, so that way you can do things like volcano tourism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The North Island at Maanyaa North Island, New Zealand, is
the
very
White
wiggly.
Island.
It's got lots of, but also has inside has some wonderful hot springs, and thermals and other good stuff. There's a whole park there.
Roden.
That's quite lovely. I mean, it has stuff that rivals. New Zealand has stuff that rivals Yellowstone in terms of its geysers and other fun stuff.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
Rodent, no last name, said in the chat, and I think they incidentally bring up an interesting point. Landon is looking for bulging. Giggity. And like, why? Giggity. All right, but I'm curious as to why are all of the terms that surround volcanoes all sexual? Also, Red Eye.
Well,
hi, it's good to see you. He's warning us that there is a cork sniffer in the stream, and I'm for one am concerned.
And that's just true. But look at this. Look at this. Red Eye allegedly. Waina South Pole Interior. It's an article in the missionvillagevoice.com on page 29, talking about a cork sniffer down under in the land, way down under, not slightly down under, not barely down under, allegedly. I took about really down under,
we're not talking about hips. We're not talking about thick thighs. We're down at ankles right now. That's where we're at.
Yeah. But that is there. So we also look for air quality, right? And so one of the things that they do is they have in the volcanic system, they have they do a lot of monitoring of air quality. And here we see right now, if we look at the current stuff, all these spots are places where they measure volcanic gases, and we see this gray line. This is the trade winds blowing the gases from Halemaumau towards the sea. And so this area out here tends to have very acidic. In fact, they call it the volcanic desert because when you have like sulfur dioxide come out and mix with what's really present in great quantities in Hawaii, water. It's a very wet place. You get sulfur dioxide and water, you get sulfuric acid, and that acid falls on the ground. And so this area here it resembles a desert, in part because plants don't like to have acid full in them.
No.
Yeah, no. I can't imagine why.
Yeah, you don't want a sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfate shower. No, you don't want that.
No. And here's so there's lots of dots. This is just a few of the dots in there, but there's lots of dots around the island, both health wise, right? And they'll look at stuff and they'll look at the history and they're doing continuous monitoring, and people who have asthma or other effects, they give them warnings about taking shelter when stuff gets
I imagine
particulates.
That it's helpful to find out if being too close to volcano for X amount of time at X age is going to be indicative of potential health problems in the future, right? It's just like when we talked about that one volcano that made people deaf, the super volcano.
Yeah. In Hunga Tonga.
Yes.
But here's a case where it's both gases and particulates. Like you don't want to have breathing in these silicate particulates. Can be it's bad.
You can get, yes, scoliosis. Is it scoliosis?
And
no.
So,
silicosis.
Yeah.
Silicosis.
Silicosis, yes.
What is silicosis?
It's
not
the disease of the...
This all seems silly to me.
Maanyaa.
What is it?
Maanyaa knows what she's talking about, so please go ahead, Maanyaa.
So what happens is it generally irritates your lung tissue, and it can cause cancer in future.
That sounds rough. That doesn't sound very silly at all.
So in simple terms, yes. So you don't want to be breathing in, and use correct filters for that.
So they have stuff like that. They talk about all these things. They talk about the effects of sulfur dioxide. They have stuff about effects of particulate matter, and why you should be care about microscopic solids and other things, what you can do about it. So there's a lot of health data involved in these things for monitoring. So so in addition to public safety, and we see things like here's a steam vent where we had a little bit of there was a period of time for the steam vents. Now this little line here is a spot over here that occurred where it got a little bit for a little time. They noticed a little bit of stuff, but it went back down again, right? There's a little boop that came out in this spot. So they watch for stuff. One would expect if the magma's on the move, that you might begin to see slightly elevated gas levels coming out in cracks nearby. Although sometimes the gas can go a long ways and come out the spot, and then you begin to see the ground deforming, and you would also then see earthquakes and so forth. But so far we're not seeing that yet. But what are we seeing? Well, this is the vent. Remember, if we go back to the spot, where is it? Here, this eruptive vent, that little spot, that's here. So here's the eruptive vent with stuff flowing down the side. We see again, it's flowing out in this direction. It comes into this pond where it sort of cycles around for a while. So this spot here is this spot, right? So when we talk about what's the size of that, that's about 300 meters by about 200 meters, right? In terms of size. So that's about 300 by 200 meters in this area, draining from the side. So, it's definitely moving around. This is what it looks like on the larger side. So here's a fountain with that drain. Here's another fountain and a drain here. So remember, when we're looking at thermal events, we have this spot, this spot, this spot. When you look at it from afar, you're seeing these other little spots. Here's that edge. Here's those edge spots, right?
I love how cool all these pictures look. They're so awesome. I'm curious to know who the first person was who decided to just wander into that, being like, that's probably fine.
Yes.
It was somebody. So science. That's science at work. That's just early science.
Birds sometimes try that, but they don't come back to report to their fellow birds as to.
Tom asked an interesting question in the chat. They said, "What's a place on Earth where you are guaranteed not to be killed by a volcano?" And then they said, "Antarctica?" ? No, not Antarctica.
Antarctica has Mount Erebus, which is actually one of the largest. I think it's now currently the largest lava lake in the world. Active lava lake is at Mount Erebus.
Probably Chesh's house.
Island of McMurdo. I would think that places. For volcanoes, places in middle Canada.
Yeah, the Canadian Shield is pretty thick.
and I mean, where the biggest disaster tends to be certain family of premiers in a certain province.
Oh, my mom's here. Everybody say hi to my mom. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, hey. Mom. Hello. Hi, Mom. Hi, Goblin Mom.
Inkboy, who's been a member for 30 months at the silver level. Thank you so much, Inkboy, for your contribution to our absolute absurdity. Would that be possible to vent out magma out of a volcano and using it for something useful like obsidian bricks, assuming some kind of alien technology?
Well, volcanoes tend to be self-venting. That sounds obvious, but that's true. That's what a volcano does. It vents magma, and And yes, you can go down there and try to grab it. The problem is, as your drill bits, as you get closer and closer to the magma, they'll begin to melt because it's hot, as well as the pressures. Even if you had some magic adamantium thing that could withstand the temperatures, the pressures would of the gas as you got close to the magma would blow your rig out of the hole.
Oh yeah,
it's one of those
like
things
a pressure cooker.
It's one of those things that we can't predict volcanoes well enough yet to be able to be like, oh, we know it's going to vent right here, so we can put a capture system, which doesn't exist right now. But if it did, and we're going alien technology that isn't going to like just get destroyed, we don't know enough about the volcano to know where it's going to shoot out from or when.
And it's
yet.
Yeah, and it's also funny, like, how you would deal with something pressurized. So, yeah, like, if you have more information in future, maybe you can, create vents where you can slowly release the pressure so as to not cause a big blow-off or something like that.
Well, or you could potentially use the pressure that exists to spin a wheel that can generate power, right?
Ooh,
so
I like it.
There's definitely, like, potential ways we can do it. We just don't know, and we're not able to consistently predict volcanoes well enough yet. There was another question from Tom, Landon, if you want to go to that one, or if you have something else to add.
Sure. I was going to talk about geothermal energy, but should we go to the question and then go back to
yeah, we can go back to geothermal stuff, because that's a whole nother field. Tom asked, can you outrun a volcano? And I do know we had shown a video a while ago, and how fast was that lava moving? Like 35 miles an hour?
I mean, yeah, it kind of depends upon what you're outrunning, right? If you have an explosive eruption with basically a pyroclastic flow that can go up to the speed of sound, that answer is no. If you have lava that's just looping along on the surface, you can actually have lunch, watch the lava flowing, and just move at the end of lunch away from it. If the lava is sort of oozing around on the surface, it's already cooling. It is fairly easy to outrun. If it's going bang, no, you don't.
Do you get a head start?
Yes. And what is it you're outrunning? Now geothermal energy, I mean, the way that it talking about, can we make use of this magma stuff? The way that typically geothermal energy says is, well, okay, we can't drill down into magma. That's a bad thing. We wouldn't be able to survive. If it got even close, the pressure would build up and blow out our stuff. So instead, what we'll do is we'll drill down just a little ways and send water down, or have places where water goes in. The water gets warm, generates steam, and we take advantage of the steam atop. Places, countries like Iceland have a lot of geothermal energy because it's got lots of magma underneath and hot rocks. And the water down there boils, and they can convert to steam.
Hot rocks as opposed to pop rocks.
Yes, that sounds simple, but it is a big problem, because one of the problems with all that stuff is that the caustic chemicals, the acids and so forth that come out of that steam. It's not just a simple pure water boiling like in your teapot. And so
you think there's only water in my teapot? That's adorable.
Yeah, well, we suspect, we know that Chesh lives in an area where they snacky cakes are illegal, legal. Allegedly.
There's a bunch of blackbirds flying out my window, and it's kind of freaking me out because there's like a whole flock of them just hanging out. And they're not crows, they're the smaller blackbirds, and they're doing me a concern. I'm like, what is going on that there are so many of these little bastards flying around here right now? Did somebody die on the street? Like, what the hell oh, yeah, okay, yeah, basically, I know what it is. Garbage day, and the garbage truck went by and knocked over a bunch of stuff, so they're all looking for stuff.
Just a regular day, yeah.
Well, I was also kind of concerned that this might be weather-related. Because we're supposed to get like another 20 centimeters of snow today. Wow. So I'm probably going to be outside shoveling.
And this announcement
Chesh's
was
Little
brought to you
Tea-
by Shesh Debate Hub.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
It is-
interrupt. It's just there's like 3 of them are sitting on a light pole that's like right outside my window, and then I just saw a bunch of them just circling around, and I was like, uh-oh, somebody dead?
So Smitty
Well, you
says
should be
Chesh's
concerned.
Little.
I don't wanna
He
talk
says
that.
Chesh's Little is a little teapot, short and stout. Here's her handle. Here is her spout.
When I get all steamed up, hear me shout.
So, geothermal energy is not easy.
I'm getting steamed.
Even if you get the steam stuff, the corrosive acids and gases that come out of it can result in basically having to replace your equipment because basically it's add away,
It's
and they can try to
corroded.
put Teflon coating and so forth. There are places that make use of it, but not every place is suitable because you want geothermal activity, but not too much geothermal activity. The Big Island had a really nice geothermal plant. I'll go to the map here down in this area, right? And it produced a lot of power until the magma moved into there and wiped it out.
We got a super chat from My Unfinished Journey for 5. Thank you so much, My Unfinished Journey. And they're getting their super
Yay.
chats early for the 16th, as AIG is a magnificent morass of marauding meat missiles.
Oh, wow. Marauding meat
Take a
missiles.
drink. AIG's a bag of
Oh,
dicks.
Okay.
Oh.
So, earthquakes wise.
Sorry, my mom. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout, piss me off, and I'll punch you out.
Yeah, thanks. Chesh's mom is cool. So let's look at what the earthquakes are here. We see our last 7 days, this pile of quakes down here. This is stuff that's relatively deep in the all region. Here's the top of Kilauea, and that spine. There's a few quakes down here, but often these quakes are this is not evidence of magma moving, because you'd see a lot more quakes there. This is evidence that basically that this rock is under strain, right? Because it's being pushed this direction.
This rock is getting stressed out.
Here. So it's just little stresses and strains. We see nothing up at the top of Mauna Loa. So these are just normal and cranes here. Here is the volcanic seamount and a little earthquake there. So that's kind of the usual bit of stuff. Magma is still on the way up from the hotspot that heads towards Mauna Loa, Kilauea, and the volcano formerly known as No'i. So again, we don't see evidence that magma's it's on the move other than where?
Yeah.
Here, right?
So-
this
It's
thing
filling
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I'm also saying, like, if you look at the diagram that you showed previously with the activity,
here.
so it's more going towards northeast, if you see, if you know what I mean,
Yeah, this thing
all
on
the
here.
activity.
But
Yeah.
now these quakes here are typically they're relatively small and shallow. So we get something here. These are like this is a magnitude 2.7. Here is a 1.6. Here is a 2.3. So these would be
It's kind of
fairly, and the
spread
depth
out.
is like 6 kilometers, 3 kilometers, 3 kilometers. Now, what is that more likely? Well, if you go back to the main picture over here, our island stuff. Well, let's go back to whoops. Let's go back to here. We can use this stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, if we just look at the earthquakes, it'll probably be better. All right.
Yeah.
Here's the top of Kilauea, and this is one of the spines going out this way. The other spine going this way. Right?
Yeah.
But this spine is also a weak point, a crack. There's fault lines that go here. So this rock is kind of being dragged this direction to fall down into the ocean here. So this is sort of just generally there are little quakes along the lines of the earthquake faults and strains, and also relieving of pressure that happens. you would see a much more concerted effort like what happens here, right? However, these quakes are like at 30 kilometers, 36 kilometers, 34 kilometers. These are deep things. This is the magma, the hotspot coming up from here, and then it basically travels this way, even to the volcano over here, and to here. So this is suggesting that there still is movement. Now, we presume the movement is up and not down, because that can also happen. If it was down, we would see a big cessation of volcanic activity where it goes into a quiet period. If we saw movement, you begin to see lots and lots of little here of stuff. When it's on the move, there's lots of quakes along the area that range in depth if it moves this way or moves away, historically speaking.
There's a question from the chat from TomTom that says, are there areas where experts expect volcano outbreaks in the near future, and if so, where?
You're talking about in Hawaii? One could expect, if we go back to earthquakes, one could expect an outbreak along this spine or this spine, right? That is at some point the magma chamber will seal itself off, and magma will start to move down the line. This is what Pele does quite regularly. Again, what do you mean by the magma chamber? Well, normally this would be a solid rock here. It would bulge in the middle, and this magma chamber would be stuff underneath, right? We would see earthquakes, we'd see gas coming out, we might see a little bit of lava breaking on the surface, sealing off, but this thing here is effectively a magma chamber that's going to get high enough to self-seal and become set, and then will start to move. But because of the collapse, that magma chamber was exposed, and now we're seeing what is a lava lake is really the top of a magma chamber that's got to get to the point where, due to slow down eruption or gets high enough, it'll seal off, and then magma will start to move somewhere or other. So we would expect it to either move down this rift zone, or this rift zone would be the expected areas where we start to see stuff. And historically, you look at where volcano eruptions have occurred. That happens, right? I want to point out if what you look at for things, if we open this thing here, we'll see, for example, here's what happened that great 35.5-year eruption where the sun was over here and magma went down the tube and came out at Pu'o, and it flowed all along that area. From the point of view of historical stuff, if you look at what happens, this is sort of the what Kilauea does. These level 1 is sort of like the most likely places where eruptions occur, and then same thing with Mauna Loa along the spines.
There's also, you can track, if you're looking from like a really long period of time, you can see just Hawaii moving, like
it's kind of,
and leaving like a snail trail behind it,
like a centipede.
Centipede.
So
what?
Yeah.
So look at this level of increasing activity and of hazard, right? 1 is the most hazardous. So you ask about where do you expect it? We would expect eruptions to occur on areas of 1, right? The gray are lava flows since 1800. And so Kilauea's got a bunch of stuff, and Mauna Loa's got a bunch of stuff.
Go to the side of the volcano that the volcano is not moving in the direction of. So if you look at Hawaii, Hawaii is moving like in a kind of an arc, a little bit of an arcing direction. So live on this side, where it's not where the volcano is going; it's where the volcano's already been.
Yeah, and you look at stuff like
good idea.
Kohala region. Besides beautiful waterfalls and other things, this is like the least volcanic stuff. Remember, the hot spot is moving up in this area. That's where all those earthquakes are, and it transfers up to Mauna Loa, Hualalai, Kilauea, and the seamount over here. So one would be the place where you'd most expect it, and then lava flows from there would go into 2.
Yeah.
And if you look historically of what happens, this gray area shows you the history.
Don't live in the snail trail of Hawaii. So I'm calling it.
But good question. So if you look at webcams, here's a picture from Mauna Loa looking across towards Mauna Kea just a few minutes ago. Let's see if we update stuff. Oh, it's starting to snow. Look at that. It's snowing.
Oh, hey!
No!
Right?
Is that outside? Is that my house? I can see my house from there.
We're around 4,200 meters, 300 meters elevation, but we see snow on Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa.
Inside a snowflake like the one on your sleeve, there probably lived a goblin.
I know what you're doing. Oh my god, that's so funny.
So here was a picture taken about an hour before the show started, showing at the summit. Again, this is the summit at Mauna Loa, looking over this thing over here is Mauna Kea, where the telescopes are. And you can see the snow line. You can see the little antenna dish that communicates to the instruments up here. And if we reload it, so everyone,
has that got icicles on it?
If we reload it. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm gonna eat those.
It's
my favorite snack.
Over here, yeah, we see there. Yeah, that's got icicle bits there. So now let's do a reload and see what it looks like. And we see, okay,
wow.
it's snowing. It's snowing up there, so it does snow in Hawaii, but this is way up at the top of Mauna Loa.
Get ready to go skiing.
Over in Mauna Kea.
Can you out ski lava? Probably.
It's interesting, like how the flora and fauna gets affected around a volcano, isn't it? You get snow, you get good waterfalls, you get good humidity, and at the same time, hydrogen sulfate rain. So yeah, just another day in Hawaii, I guess.
Yeah. Here was a picture beginning when we just started the show of looking down into the Holy Ma'u pit. You see the drop down block here. Here's some of those lake stuff with, again,
this is a gladiator combat in a video game. This is like you walk to the center of that and you're fighting like a dragon or like a big fire giant or like some big boss lives there and they're just waiting for somebody to step into the ring. Don't step in lava.
Aren't the green are there the black dragons or gray dragons or green dragons like the acid ones? Which ones are the acid ones?
So volcano would generally be a red dragon. But if you're asking what sulfur would be, it would be acid. Yeah. And so acid would be green dragons because black dragons are poison. No, sorry. Black dragons are acid, green dragons are poison. So it'd be black dragon.
Okay. Thank you.
So here again we see that we focus on those pictures. That's the lava moving this way. We saw those pictures of the webcam when we were looking at this kind of stuff here. This stuff here, from a visitor's perspective. Go back to this visitor's perspective. This is what you would see, right? This is that spot here. But notice there's activity all around, particularly in the edge, right? Why is there activity at the edge? Well, that's because it's easy for the gas to kind of escape along the side. Yes.
But is it enough for the gas to escape though? If we don't know the amount of gas that's underneath this whole thing, but are those vents enough for the gas to escape and decrease the pressure, or nah, that's nothing?
All I know is that is not a cork top. Please do not sniff it.
Yes. Well, that's a really good question, Maanyaa. Excellent question. And we can see from the point of view of what the summit is doing. The summit is expanding, right? This upward expansion is because there's pressure underneath. It's not if the hotspot were draining, we would see the summit sag in. And again, this is sagging in terms of like, this is 5 centimeters. This is not much, but that little uptick suggests that there's pressure. There's ongoing pressure from the depth of the collapse. It's expanded, right? How much is expanded? Almost a meter. That is, what do you mean by a meter of what? Well, if you go to the summit here, it's a meter across this this couple of kilometers. It goes from here to here. So
that's still a lot.
It is expanding.
Considering the depth. Yeah, considering the depth, it's still a lot, isn't it? A meter across.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. So we know there's pressure under the summit, right? That's causing it to re-expand. And this expansion here is because you've got energy pressure pushing up on the and it's long, but just because it's expanding doesn't mean it's erupting. Sometimes, right? Yeah, the pressure is building up, and see this drop down here. This was the start of the eruption. So it was quiet, and then it broke through, and released a lot of pressure, released a lot of lava on the surface, and it kind of sank in as that.
Yeah. If you look at that graph.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry. If you look at that graph, you can actually see it has a bump, like it's a gradual up, and then it bumps down, and then suddenly go boom. So it's like it gives you oh yeah, it's going up and up and up. Maybe now it will sag, but then
these are all the technical
comes
terms.
Down, and then it gently comes down, and then goes boom suddenly, and then you're like, I thought you were being nice.
So drops occur when a big eruption ends.
Pele's just brake checking you. You're wearing your seatbelt. Poof. Sorry, Pele.
Yes. So the drops can occur when an eruption ends or when it begins, right? When this drop here was due to the fact that there was pressure building up, all kinds of quakes, and it broke through, released, and you had a huge amount of lava came out and caused it to sag. But the eruption went on there and then stopped, right? And then it paused for a while and had another blip. And so this is the beginning of the eruption, and it's continued to the point here where Mauna Loa got into act. It kind of paused, but resumed, right? And
it's still gaining pressure over time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And you could see from the point of view of where it was during, in the pre-eruption phase, it's always a ways to go. And of course, volume-wise, when we look at the set, it still has a way to go. I would still expect that if this lava lake gets higher and higher and higher, that it will turn into a magma chamber that's full, and the magma will start to have to find easier paths to go rather than try to work its way all through these hundreds of meters of rock. But we'll have to see. So again, this is what it looks like, for visitors things. It used to be the road used to go across here. This flat area here is actually a road that's got so much dust on it now that you can't see the dust. A little bit of a road here. Used to be the road used to go around this spot, and it's kind of been deleted. But let's reload it. Reload it and see what it does there. Okay, so it's got some more. You'll see that the gases kind of come and go. There's a little bit of stuff bring out here. There's some gases out here. This is mostly this. Sorry, go ahead. This white stuff is mostly steam with a bit of acid in it. This is more volcanic gases. This sort of bluish color. But again, you can see it's all around this area. So go ahead. You're ask a question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask if the temperature is affecting how visible the gases are right now.
Oftentimes it's rain, right? It's rather warm stuff, and you get a rain shower. It dumps a lot of rain on it, and the rain gets down to the point of hitting on hot rocks and steams. So some of this sort of more white stuff is water that's washed down here or rained down on top of it, and it's steaming away. Just like having a pot of hot water on the stove. There's water up here that's steaming away. Not enough. It can't accumulate enough to form a lake. It just steams away. But there's also this color gas are things that I do not recommend breathing.
Try not to breathe sulfuric acid, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's
very,
like, very safe.
It's a beautiful day today. Let me go outside, take a big breath of fresh air, and then you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and so
your lungs explode.
They monitor the thing quite carefully. They'll close things if it gets really bad. But you see, you can come here to the visitor center and go to these overlooks. You're just fine. The winds go that direction. Even if it went this direction, it would be more like a smoggy day as opposed to really bad stuff.
Landon, would
you just don't want to be down in here in the pit.
Landon, would you mind pulling up the graph again? That's underneath the one with the showing filling up.
Jess loves that graph.
Down a little bit. So this
Jess
graph
has fallen in love.
Just a quick explanation of this graph is that these are dates matching that are telling you how full the caldera was at each date and indicating how it is filling up over time. That's just what this graph was.
Yeah. So 2018 was the end of the 35th year eruption with a pit there, and between it and 2020, the water lake filled up because there's lots of water. It was piling up here. That lake got to 50 meters deep before it had an eruption that started in 2020, and that eruption not only boiled away the lake but filled up this amount here. It stopped, so now you had it went from 50 meter deep water lake to 229 meter deep lava pit. It stopped, restarted again. So if we look at the tilt meters, right? There's the first graph. This is the second graph. Here's the third graph. So go back to this set here. Here's the first. Here's the second. Here's the third. That. Now, these two lines here are really kind of the notion that it kind of paused in 2022 at the end of December 2022, and then Mauna Loa started erupting, and so did Kilauea. So I don't know if you called it a two different eruption phase or just a different phase of the same eruption, but
sure.
But first eruption filled here at 209 meters and paused, and then the next eruption went from 229 to 369, and more recent stuff after the Mauna Loa Kilauea paused, it added another 10 meters to it.
There's something
with various flaws
to be said when it comes to semantics when making those kinds of decisions within science or within your life, and it's that, Maanyaa, you just need to put googly eyes on your microphone. There's something to be said about that. We utilize terms and we create these terms and these definitions as ways to make things easier to conceptualize and understand for ourselves. And you should probably do your best to not get trapped within those boxes because they're not exclusive. They're just there to help you understand and conceptualize as well as for us to study. They're not definitive. They're just descriptors that are used to help us understand. It doesn't mean that it's certainly the only option. It certainly doesn't mean that's only the case. And if it's no longer helpful, it's perfectly fine and acceptable to step outside of that box and say, well, this is good for conceptualization, but there's more to it than that once you get to that stage. Don't get stuck in boxes, people. Yeah. It's okay. Definitions in science and in life are wibbly wobbly. There's no real hard lines in real life.
They're useful for describing what happened without getting hung up on the terminology police stuff,
yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And so the usually again the notion that the eruption of Kilauea went through many phases from January 4th, 1983 to August 2018, they had some 70 phases of the eruption, right? Where it would change the mode and change what it was doing, while continuous. And some of those times had pauses of stuff where we couldn't see lava for a week or two or three, and start again. So after the fact, I think they will have data to tell whether or not this was a new eruption or just a phase. And
hindsight is 2020, and you could probably argue that date around a little bit, and you could say, okay, well, August 2018, maybe it was like the 15th, maybe it was the 6th where it actually stopped or where it actually switched over. And because these definitions are just that, they're meant to be helpful for us. They're not meant to lock you in to an ideology or lock you into specifics.
Yeah. This great Pu'u'o eruption, where most of the lava came out here at Pu'u'o. It had some great fountains. There was lots of fun stuff here. Of course, there were other bits of stuff there. It had lots of that. See, it made this nice little cone, and then it collapsed, and it started again, and it collapsed, and it started again, and it flowed out. A lot of stuff flowing to the ocean. I remember this coming up this spot. I took some samples.
That's a cool looking picture.
And you can see the collapse of here is inside Pu'u'o.
How is that camera functional?
Boom.
Wow.
And it just basically fell down, right?
There it goes.
Do you see that? Right? That's one of those collapse splits. And again, people said, oh, that's the end of the thing. The floor collapsed, the magma went away, it's gone, and of course it came back again. right afterwards, right?
Of course.
A lot of flow stuff here. This is the fun stuff. A lot of stuff, moving into housing areas along fissures, and so forth. So check out this thing here. I will put this. I'll give this to Chesh in Discord, so you can see that thing. But this is a nice thing about the history of that again, that 35-year eruption with many different phases.
Whoops. I didn't do anything. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
And again, the end of that phase was this collapse here. So again, I talk about sometimes you get down things by the end of the eruption as opposed to the beginning eruption, right? That caused this line, this pit, to go from the orange line down to here.
Very
of a depth of almost 500 meters, and then came back up again. And we're seeing this blooping around as it moves forward. So what will happen in the future?
Blooping.
I think blooping is probably a pretty good description. Here's live. This is what it looks like live. So let's go and enjoy the live scene. If it was night, you'd see more glowy crack stuff, but obviously there's not as much gas coming out as it was a month ago.
You can see some of the spots where it's very, still very red.
Yeah.
Pu'u'o? I can read Pu'u'o. I know how that's pronounced. I learn. I get better.
Yeah.
I'm still holding out for, it just kind of sticking outside this, coming out aside somewhere that we're not aware of.
I mean, in some ways, being in the pit is really nice for tourism. It doesn't bother too many people, and it looks pretty. When it starts to wander, when Pele starts to wander, then other people get inconvenienced. But that's life on the island, right? You can't sit there and say, I'm going to park here forever and ever, amen, and expect Pele to
no, you got to go behind the volcano if you want that. And that's still only if you're lucky. You gotta live in the snail trail. I'm telling you.
There you go. But that's what it looks like live there. Now, I think one of the things that's nice about this new eruption is because we now have the technology of how to do live feeds.
We're gonna see a bird fly in.
You will look forward for that early. Usually fly in front, right? Sometimes if you see it large, it'll be flying in front here. But what they do is they basically have a link that tunnels it over to a place that Akamai delivers into YouTube land. So we don't have a continuous feed across the middle of the ocean. It's so this continuous eruption coverage is something new that's kind of nice to see.
That's a cute picture.
And of course, you come back, and they will change on occasion. Let me put this YouTube link here.
Yes.
So I will put this into the screen for Chesh to put onto the set here. You'll see that sometimes this will stop, and the way you do is you go back to USGS, and you say live. You click on it, and there it is, right? Now it's quite possible that if this eruption were going to a pause phase. Oh, there's a bird.
There he goes.
How did it make it across this pit of death?
It was climbing out. It definitely
was
climbed
thinking
out.
about
I
it.
saw it. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, nah.
I told you
Yeah.
we'd see a bird.
And you were
That
correct.
one lucky creature
That
that
one
made
time.
it through.
That one time Chesh was mostly right.
I think so
Yes.
2 times though.
But yeah, so that's how you do is go to the USGS. Again, if you're watching a show later and you go to that link and it basically shows nothing, just click on USGS and then look for a live thing here and there you go.
You can type in.
But they sometimes will restart it.
You can type
Yeah,
in
good.
youtube.com/USGS/stream and it should come up. It should come up with whatever stream is currently active, if there is one.
Now, understand sometimes when it's really raining, all you'll see is basically steam and fog and nothing there. Also, sometimes that seeing it in Hawaiian night is also it can be a much better experience. So if you look at this spot here, right, this is what the stream looked like last night. You
Yep.
see the island and you see lots of stuff there. So
There's
it varies on
69 people watching.
But like I said, it's good. This is, I think, now the nice thing is that the public can share in stuff. And of course, there's lots of other previous videos with all kinds of good stuff for USGS. So again, I want to point out a plug for our favorite universe.
What's this thing about Kinder Eggs? Kinder Eggs chocolate recalled after salmonella outbreak. God damn it,
These
Kinder.
150 people. Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
Yes, this is so we have news, important news stuff here. Here's a news about people in England complaining that they can't find tomatoes because of Brexit, and so this guy that they said, well, you should do is literally you should go down to where the sewage is pumping into the ocean because Tories have unleashed lots of sewage onto beaches, and you can find in amongst the poo tomatoes, and they were actually were suggesting that.
I have a different recommendation. There is opportunity in tragedy, so if you can't find tomatoes, get yourself some tomato seeds and start a business.
Yeah, and so you see this guy talking about, say, hey, you can go down here, blah, 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 and they thought, the actual government thought this was a useful promotion thing to try to suggest to people.
What?
I'm not kidding.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
kidding. But, I mean, that's probably a better thing for a tavern. But anyway, you'll see there's a lot of newsfeed stuff, a lot about disasters like droughts and other things.
Yes, our next tavern is on March 23rd, so if you're interested in this kind of... Sorry, 25th. March 25th. So if you're interested in us following these kinds of news...
There's...
tweaks and weirdness, that's the 25th.
Reason. There's a reason we take sewage away from where we inhabit. There's a reason.
Listen, there is definitely not gonna get another plague. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
But the main thing is this science news section where there's lots of stuff about astronomy, about other science stuff here. There's a long history of interesting science articles where we tend to not just do the headlines, but the actual journal articles that are there. So that's probably the big thing. So when you join, I'll recognize you and elevate you to a science fan, and you can then see.
And you get to be recognized by Landon, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. That's so cool.
So here we go. So that's other questions from the chat about volcanoes or stuff, and of course we have to make our predictions so that we can see how wrong.
You have to make our predictions. We have. I didn't see too many. Tom was asking about Tonga a little bit. Tonga seems to be a very active volcano wise. How likely is it that an old volcano like I think Tufa?
Mm-hmm.
Tufa? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Which is a huge lake of water in the volcano center will become active again.
I know that Tonga is on one of those plate tectonic things where it has lots of volcanic stuff, and so it'll certainly happen in the future. But that's not all bad. I mean, New Zealand is due to volcanic stuff happening, right? That's kind of the if you didn't have that tectonic volcanic stuff, you wouldn't. You just have Australia allegedly. Now
you just have
Australia might differ on that thing, but still, really, these volcanoes are not death and destruction. They actually are renewal, and some of the rich areas, right? Particularly Northern Ireland is incredibly rich soil. A lot of those great cheeses from New Zealand come from that region.
Oh, you mean like soil from a volcano creates good food rather than shit tomatoes?
Yes, that's true.
Yes.
Because otherwise you have to depend upon Tories telling you to go and muck in the poo that they caused to go to the beaches.
Oh, you want tomatoes? Go dig through shit, pleb.
And also, like, volcanoes can give you a snapshot of what flora and fauna would have looked like when, the flora and fauna started flourishing across the planet. It gives you that snapshot in time, I think so. That, like, obviously the plants have evolved, but yeah, you can imagine, like, how, with time.
What? There's no way the Discord link in the... Oh, no, sorry. The link that is not expired is the one that is in the comment section. It's the pinned comment. Grab it from there.
Yeah. Sorry, and so again, if we look at that island, and here's the end of the eruption that came with those fissures and all that lava that poured out that caused the summit to collapse. This will slowly renew itself, and these what used to be beaches and coves will be restored eventually, because we see already from these flows here that they're now incredibly rich areas with all kinds of plants and stuff growing in these regions. It is bad for the thing that's there now, but the resulting flow is just an incredible explosion of life.
That's a cool as hell map.
Oh my god, that's like
that's a sexy map.
A map that's a map maker's like dream come true. It's like ooh.
And so you see here's Halimamo, here this little ring, and the flows that come along the lines of you see again the flow, and of course Mauna Loa does a lot of stuff this way, and again these are flows. Many of the flows are from 1800 on, but if you go and look in these areas nowadays, even the Pu'u'o things that stopped in 1983.
Can you just send me that map? I'm gonna use that for something. Thanks.
That's so cool. Oh my goodness.
Let me go over to here for this thing.
Kind of reminds me, Landon, when we were like in senior secondary and we were doing our geography. We were taught like how to like draw the topological lines for all the mountains and the sand dunes and stuff, and it was like, took me back to those old days.
Rate this map.
And oftentimes these things have dates as to when the flows are. They can look at the ages of the flows there. So we have a pretty good idea about what happened and the renewal that's come from here. You look at again the history of Mauna Loa in particular. It's got lots of good flows. Going back. So here green is 1843 or younger. Red is going back to around 7,500, about 750 years. This is going back to 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 4,000 years, right? So they can date these things, and again, there's rich farmland and so forth that gets created from all.
But Landon, dating is not accurate. Dating is not accurate.
No. Listen, we're gonna deal with that on the 16th. That'll be on the 16th. Don't at me. Hold on. I'll add a link to the comment section or to the live chat so you guys will stop.
And as I say, there's lots of stuff. If you go to the park, you'll see lots of maps of things. There's lots of maps of stuff. But from a point of view of the island, here's you can see a little bit of 3D relief. Here's Mauna Loa. So mass-wise, Mauna Kea is just a little bit higher, but it's not active. It's dormant. You see Haloalai. Here's Kona. Here's Hilo. There's Kilauea on the side, waiting to become the big mountain.
We have. Oh, I just put that somewhere. We have another question in the chat. It says it's from my mom. It says so I went to that volcano in St. Kitts so many years ago. I was wondering if you know anything about it or if it is still active today.
St. Kitts. I'm not familiar with the St. Kitts. Let's see. That's KIT. St. Kitts, and that I believe is out in the Caribbean.
I believe so. Yeah.
If that is correct, and I think that it's had it certainly had its areas. I mean, historically, it's a historic thing because of issues of slavery and some of that stuff occurring, but the geology of that area, it had certainly had last eruption was in 1620. So it's had a period. It had a dome about 44,000 years ago that kind of got wiped out, and it was very eruptive in like the 2.3 million years ago. But last known eruption in that area was about 1620.
Is there any kind of indication volcanic, that it could go in the future?
I don't know that that's something that's considered to be likelihood. It certainly is continuing. I would say it certainly is dormant, so it has the potential for erupting, but we don't see any evidence that it will do so anytime soon.
Oh my god.
My mom says, cool, thanks. It was all steamy and smelly and had a beautiful lake inside.
Yes. And so that's a common thing is that you still have hot rocks down there and outgassing.
Hot rocks.
Just because, hot rocks and outgassing stuff. I mean, again, look at the North Island, New Zealand. It's got lots of thermal springs and sulfur pits and geysers and so forth, even though it's not erupting on the main island.
You can actually bathe in some of those sulfur springs without, scratching your skin off your body. You can do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's these beautiful terraces that have of the flow stuff. I mean, again, it's stuff that rivals Yellowstone in terms of the beautiful, hot spring pools and flow stuff there. It's actually quite a lovely area.
So yeah, I went to this place called Whakarewarawa, the Whakarewarawa village, and that's actually the shortened name. I think I mentioned it before. It's the shortened version of its actual name. Its actual name is actually a poem. It's actually a poem. So yeah, you can go there, visit there. That's where I went for the sulfur springs. So yeah, the full name of the place is Te Whakarewarewa Tanga o Te Opetoa Ofa. Oh yeah, I couldn't reach till the end. Sorry.
That was pretty good. That was better than I could do. I'd just be like, processing. I don't know, word that I'm not gonna offend anybody with my pronunciation of.
Okay, so this is probably. Go ahead.
Nah, I was just like, so this kind of poem came after like a legend where a warrior, Wahaio, had led a charge and performed a haka, that's the war dance for the Maoris, before charging into the battle. So yeah. And they'd use the geothermal steam as a war tactic to hide themselves. So yeah.
Pretty clever.
Yeah.
So this is one of the more detailed flow maps of history of stuff there with ages and different flows and different things from different dates is one of the sets. So I sent you that link as well.
Wow.
From Hawaii. Of stuff. So yeah, there's lots of good flows. Anyway, but yes, the Polynesians have learned to live with volcanoes in part because that's sort of their area of the world, and that Polynesian triangle goes from New Zealand all the way up to Hawaii and all the way over to Easter Island. That's considered to be Polynesia, and it's no wonder that a lot of the volcanic terms are Polynesian names because they have lived with and made use of volcanoes for a long time because that's their homeland.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense.
It's fascinating, like how they have survived, around the volcanoes.
It's the same reason why you find a lot of like Greek terminology in space.
Yes, it's yeah. There's a very good reason for those sorts of things, and so I think that this is part of showing again that volcanoes are not the end of the world. They're actually the beginning of new stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and they actually tell you how healthy your planet is.
Chaos and control.
Yeah.
Sonic.
Yes. Hey.
We should probably start looking to wrap up. We are at what's the time here? We are at an hour and a half, and we've covered a lot today. We actually got through a lot. Good job, us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
We'll have so what do we think any month from now? What will
what's our
be
predictions?
Happening? Let's
I'm holding
Can I have
out.
a look at that graph again? That blip, graph. Is that possible?
this one here?
No, she's talking about the blue one.
The blue one.
That's this one here.
Can you see it, Maanyaa?
You want
This one?
this?
Yes. It will continue to rise. It won't show any major activity. It will just continue to rise.
Another little
The
blip.
level. Yeah.
I'm still holding out for like something's gonna shoot out a side somewhere we're not expecting. That's my prediction. I'm holding out. Holding out.
What was the level of the sulfur dioxide that came out last month? Was it 200 something?
On the 28th, it was only 250 tons. So it went from about 3,000 a month ago to about 2,000 about a week and a half ago to about 250.
Okay. I changed my prediction. It's going to go. It's going to go. I changed my prediction.
So I think that a month from now, we will be seeing a lot of steamy, smoldery stuff, but we won't see much in the way of new lava activity. I think that we will, for the deformation, so these thermal things will shrink a bit, but we'll still have hot spots and steamy bits. And I think from a point of view of DI, we will see deflation of H events, but they might be a little less exuberant. So causing some people to say the eruption is ending, other people to say the eruption is kind of in a slowing down period. So you might see that Pele is settling into her groove and is being more sedate. It's not a fast jig, it is a slow waltz.
Okay, I'm going the totally opposite direction. Okay, so yeah.
Maanya's saying is gonna speed up. Landon's saying continue as is or slow down a little bit. I'm saying we're getting a surprise.
There we go. So we will see how wrong we are when Pele does what she does. We really appreciate the fact that folks have come along. Please consider clicking the like button on this thing. It helps the channel. I also want to say that they have a Patreon page where you can express appreciation because this channel does lots of stuff. It does things more than volcanoes. You can believe it. It's got some crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, we do lots of stuff here. Next Friday, you can join us for Dumb Fact Friday. Tuesday will be the shit show as normal. You may catch me on Twitch tomorrow or Sunday, maybe, but the week of March break, the 12th to the 18th, there's almost a show every day that week. So next week I'm going to be a little bit more slowed down just in preparation for the 12th to the 18th. So look out for that. Our tavern also is going to be on the 25th, so make sure you get set for that. And on the 16th is Landon will be back with Dapper Dino to drink and talk about Ken Ham and Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Who's Ken Ham?
Who's that guy?
Who that?
Yeah, if you do want to watch Landon lose his mind for an hour, I actually did edit that and just put in Landon for an hour, so there is a video that you're going to be able to see that is coming out soon. That is just that.
Oh dear.
But if you do want to catch the entire thing, that was a couple weeks ago, you can go find that on the channel as well. You can watch the whole thing. I also discovered what the Bible said about masturbation, and that's coming out soon. So if you're curious about that, there's also, check out the shorts that are on the channel now. There's a lot of art stuff. So if you're not interested in following that on Twitch, that you do get access to that on the YouTube channel as well. So like and subscribe, and thanks for supporting, and links down below if you do already support the channel. Thank you so much. It's very, very, very much appreciated. Share if you learned something, like if you learned something, and we'll see you guys next time. Maanyaa, are you doing anything else?
Nah, not really. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
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 Madam Pele will go boom. I promise you.
Oh, for frick's sakes.
Eventually.
All right, bye.
Eventually.